Why is Palafox Street the starting point of Pensacola's stormwater issues? Hi, I am Joe Vinson. I'm a Pensacola historian. I'm in downtown Pensacola this morning on a beautiful Saturday for the Palafox Market. Palafox is our main north-south thoroughfare full of beautiful historic buildings and public spaces. A little bit south of me, between Garden and Main Streets, Palafox is undergoing what the city calls a transformational upgrade, including a lot more underground stormwater piping. 1979 was the last time Palafox had a project of that magnitude. Now, if you have lived in Pensacola long enough, you have probably seen what heavy rain can do to the area around here, and I don't just mean in a hurricane. Flooding has been a perennial problem for a very long time, and to understand why, we should take a look back at the landscape of downtown Pensacola as it was when Spanish colonists first established the Presidio San Miguel de Panzacola here in 1756. As a reminder, that Presidio was the fourth site of a European presence here in Pensacola Bay. The Spanish moved here after a hurricane wrecked the previous Presidio on Santa Rosa Island, not to be confused with the Luna colony in 1559. They picked the spot in part because they needed a fresh water supply. You're not going to last very long as a colony if you don't have drinkable water. And this was a flat, kind of sandy spot, what Rachel Jackson later called a perfect plain, in between two spring-fed creeks. You had Washerwoman Creek on the west side and Cadet Creek on the east side. Henry Brackenridge wrote in the 1820s that the main springhead of Washerwoman Creek, the namesake of Spring Street, quote, gives a sufficiency to supply the city of London or Paris. But when you look at more detailed maps, you can see that it wasn't just two creeks. There are other springs and rivulets converging and crisscrossing all over. There's all this drainage coming down from the low-lying area, what we now call Long Hollow, where the railroad and the interstate are. And so this whole area is basically a wetland surrounding the Presidio. Some parts, right around here in fact, have soil that is good for growing vegetables, which is why they were designated as garden lots for those early colonists. And that's why we call it Garden Street. And other parts were just swamps. And when you look at those early maps, you can see that the road grid ends at those streams. Maybe there's a little wooden footbridge, or maybe you're just expected to hop over the mud or drive your wagon through it, and then you're on a rougher trail. Well, that works to a certain point, but as the town grows, they have to expand the boundaries. So what do? They just extend the road grid and start building on top of these streams. Palafox Street, or George Street as the British called it, was the first one to be extended because it led to Fort George and the other redoubts defending the town, and then onward to the overland route you would take to Mobile or wherever it was you were going if you weren't traveling by boat. The water was sometimes redirected by canal or culvert or pipeline, but often they would just cover it with a layer of dirt and pretend it was gone. But it's not gone. The water is still flowing underground today, which becomes apparent when a chunk of road suddenly disappears from time to time. That's why the Bruce Beach project included a partial daylighting of Washerwoman Creek to try and mitigate the effects of covering up all those streams. And above ground, water will continue to flow downhill, and when there's no other place for it to go, which with all of the built environment here, all of the concrete parking lots and asphalt roads is increasingly the case, we end up with flooding. And the water will win every single time. And so that's what the new Palafox project is hoping to prevent, which is ironic because Palafox was the first Pensacola street that was raised up to bypass the wetland area where I'm currently standing. It's the first thing that blocked all that natural drainage flow. You could call it the original sin of all of our subsequent stormwater issues. So that's just some interesting local Pensacola history that I wanted to share. Let me know if you would like me to make more of these videos, and feel free to comment with any suggested topics. Thank you very much.